They're aware of that. I think they're doing it in jest. They're not being serious. They're not the rappers that are pretending to be tough. They're being tough in a way where it's like they're telling a story, or it's a movie or a TV show in that sense.
So that's where I kind of hit this conundrum, because in a lot of the tracks on here, I can get with egging things like that. I can see you guys doing that.
Oh, I love that song.
But like, stealing cars, robbing people, kicking the bailiff in the knees, things like that. Like
right.
I'm not sold on that. But on the other hand, I can think of any other hip hop artist. I'll bring up 50 Cent. Did 50 Cent shoot anybody? Did Jay-Z stab someone? Yes, he did. I can't really see him doing it, but he also doesn't rap about it though at the same time. Right. But I'm trying to think of artists that like are really like G-Unit, how they're just like, I drove up on someone,
right? Put
a couple rounds in the house and then drove off. And it's like, I don't really feel that. And I guess I don't like it because it's just not realistic. But then I look at the Beastie Boys talking about this stuff, and it's like, that's not realistic either. So I guess
they're doing it in a joking way.
But I'm not laughing.
Well, that's it's still a joke though. They're not being serious. They're not saying we're from the street and we're serious about robbing your car. They're more telling a story of robbing a car. It's like watching a violent movie. Yes, you don't agree with the violence in it, but it's still entertainment.
I think as I talk out loud, I'm starting to because I'm like, I don't want to single out the Beastie Boys and what they're talking about and not liking it. But at the same time, someone else is doing something similar, way more extreme. But it's like, this is actually a dumbass story.
Right. I mean, we could talk about this all day. We could, bring in Eminem and how he wants to stab and kill people in his family. That doesn't mean he's going to do it.
But I laughed.
He's doing it for shock value. And I think Eminem gets that from the Beastie Boys. The Beastie Boys were using shock value.
So I'm going to tell you what my overall rap thoughts were on this album.
Before getting into all the songs?
Well, we're going to get into the songs, but it's just you were talking about like the things that you liked about it and everything. So kind of going, and maybe it's just to kind of set the precedence of like where I come from with this album. So I think personally with rock, I'm not too big into it. Like there's only a select kind of couple bands that I really listen to.
Yeah.
But with rock, it's different than hip hop for me because I'm listening to every individual instrument. So I'm looking for that guitar. I'm looking for how they hit that bass line. I'm hearing how the drums kick and everything like that, and the cymbals. And I'm looking for any other, there's a saxophone in there too. Let me listen to that for a second. So I hear all these things, and I just want that to set for when we get into, it's not even that far away, but when we get into Highway Drifter, I just want to set that precedence. But as a blanket thing, overall, there's too much going in this album for me to focus on. It's like I'm listening to one thing, and then another comes up, and then I have to focus on their lyrics, but they're all screaming at the same time, and then kind of going around.
So it's dense. It's a little too dense.
It's very dense and very packed full of a lot of things.
Yeah, especially with the production. Yeah, there's a lot of layers to every song.
It's very
there's
layered.
A lot of stuff going on.
And so and as I say that, I don't mean that in a negative way. I'm not saying that that makes the music sound really shitty, but it wasn't what I'm looking for. It's not like a good fit for me in terms of listening for things.
Yeah. And I think if you listen to the Beastie Boys' next 2 or 3 albums, it's definitely different than this. It's not this layered because this was produced by the Dust Brothers, and they took it in a totally. They revolutionized hip hop in a way, because no album was made like this before it came out. You couldn't find an album like this.
And I think to be fair as well, it's not just the Beastie Boys. And again, speaking out loud, it's making me realize things. Like I think it's really the rock component, and there's too much going on because. If I'm listening through Lil Wayne's discography and I'm Not a Human Being comes on, I'm not really listening to the album. I didn't really like it. If we're going to talk about Revival by Eminem, I didn't like that album either. It's a lot of rock components. If we're going to look at, what is it? Not Misery Loves Company, but another Tech 9 album where he went
Right.
pretty rock. I'm not listening to that either. So already rock and hip hop is not the best fit for me. So I guess that's just to be fair. I'm
Right.
not just going to single out the Beastie Boys.